Hi everyone, welcome to Leslie's StampinTrix. My name is Leslie Seabrook and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Canada. And today I'm pulling together this video for you to showcase this really awesome new stamp set bundle, which includes the dies and the embossing folder called Sweet Citrus. It's in our new mini catalog. So I'll just show you the card really quickly, so that you get a little bit of an idea of what we're doing, but I am going to switch it up a little bit today with some techniques and some tricks. So this is the embossing folder that I was talking about. Our stamp set and dies are here, and here's one of the sentiments from it. Enjoy the sweeter things in life. So I'll just move it aside and show you in the catalog. It is on page 49. Sorry, I'm just trying to move all my little sticky notes here that belong to other things so they're not distracting. As I said, it's on page 49. It's in our new mini catalog that's just come out. It's our January to April 2023 mini catalog. And I think it's a super great little bundle because, as I said, it has the stamp set. If you can see that down here, it shows you the stamp set. The dies to cut out the images from the stamp set, and then the embossing folder. I love it because it's a little bit fresh, different, and so I just think that that's kind of neat. And there's tons of texture that you can build upon in this bundle. So I don't know if you can really see here. I'll try to show you quickly. Here is the embossing folder, and we'll go through each bit as we're making it. This is a soft sea foam green piece that I've just put underneath, but I'm going to pull it aside and just get working on what I want to show you today. So you saw the card that I created, and there is a couple of, I'm just going to grab my chair here and sit down, so sorry if you heard that sliding across the floor. There is a couple of different little techniques that I've just used for this card to add a little bit of interest. So I want to show you first off, here is our stamp cut, or our Stamparatus. And I'm stamping the image first on a piece of So Saffron paper. I'm just pulling apart the Stamparatus so that you can see. So I've stamped the first image. I'll show you in just a minute with the stamp. But I've stamped this one with So Saffron ink on a piece of So Saffron. And what I wanted to share with you in terms of techniques and little different tricks that you can do is I was trying to get sort of a pink grapefruit vibe for this Sweet Citrus card instead of the limes that I used for the all green kind of monochromatic card that I did. So I tried to see what the soft So Saffron looked like, and it really does sort of look kind of gold on there when you apply ink, the same color ink, directly onto the same color cardstock, whereas this one was Petal Pink. So it kind of gives it that pink grapefruit look, I think. Here's another color combination right here. This one is Pale Papaya. And if you look at it, it's very similar, I think, to the Petal Pink. A little bit more orange in its tone when you look at it off camera. But I just wanted to give you the idea that you could create with different colors. It's obviously going to give you a different look, right? So that's one little trick or technique, if you want to call it that, is to just play around with your colored cardstock and different color inks to get the look that you want. So as I said, with the first card, I wanted it to be monochromatic, and I used a lot of greens, and I was going for that lime look to the card. This time I wanted to try it with the pink grapefruit look. So this is one of our clear mount stamp sets here. I hope you can see it. I've already done a little bit of the stamping using the Stamparatus. It's a really cool little tool. It's our stamp repositioning tool, basically. So I've placed the cardstock with my little notes here exactly as I want it. so that if I wanted to, I could make multiples of these cards. So you just basically ink up your stamp with your stamp pad and then close it, and when it opens, your image is there. But to do the filler image, which is what's so neat about this stamp set, is you basically just place your image, your stamp down onto, here I'll do it in person, it's just a little bit easier to get the idea. So you basically take your photopolymer stamp, place it down here. It's a two-step stamp, so meaning you have your outline and you have your insides, and then you just pick it up and the magnets hold in place if you've got them holding your cardstock. So I'm just going to move this slightly over to the side here, because the next little thing that I wanted to show you, it's hard to see on when I'm looking through my phone. So I'm hoping if there is any questions, I'll try my very best to answer them if I can see them. But it's a little bit awkward sometimes when I'm looking through my phone to make sure that I'm seeing things and doing the stamping at the same time. So be patient. So the first color that I'm going to add is our Petal Pink. So this is the same as the outline, and I'm just lightly dabbing it all over the inside image of the citrus fruit. So you just basically pick up your color, tap, tap, off screen, I hope you can see that, tap, tap, and dab it onto the photopolymer stamp. I'm also using Flirty Flamingo. So that's my other stamp pad down here. I'm just grabbing a little bit of that ink and placing it on. Now you can always practice ahead and just sort of see, okay, how much color am I getting, you know, by putting it on your little piece of paper there. As you see, that the Flirty Flamingo is a lot pinker, and the Petal Pink is a very, very light pink, and it sort of has kind of a bit of a orange undertone. So let me just make sure that I've got this in place, because I think it moved. I didn't have my magnets right on it before. These magnets are super strong, but you gotta have them in place for them to work. So when you close it just closes down, and I have this really cool tool that just adds a little bit more pressure. You don't need to add a lot of pressure to this, but I find sometimes with the photopolymer stamps it helps to give them that extra little oomph. So as you can see, I didn't get all of the image completely colored, but I actually didn't want to have it all colored. I wanted to have this very random, natural look, just like basically like the flesh of the pink grapefruit would look like in real life. So what's really cool about this stamp repositioning tool or Stamparatus is that you just add a little bit more ink, close it up again, just give it a little press. You can press it definitely with your hand just to transfer the ink. But I just love this little tool that I got from one of my customers. I don't know where she got it online, and I'm sorry, I don't know what it's called. I will ask her, and then I can post that for you. So then when you open it up again, do you see how it adds just a little bit more color to the inside of the fruit? So just work away at it as long as you wish to get the color that you're hoping for, and the saturation of color, I guess, is basically what I really mean. Because when you stamp directly onto white paper, it gives you a different saturation of color than if you stamp a color onto a piece of colored cardstock. So, like I said, experiment, play around, see what you like. I wanted to go with the tonal color on color look. So I have cut these out already just for the sake of time, but I wanted to show you the dies. And basically how it works, I used my stamp cut and emboss machine, my big one. But you basically just set your die down onto the stamped image and run it through the stamp cut and emboss machine. And then it cuts out your images. So all 4 little pieces of fruit there. So that's just that piece. And I'll just set them aside. The next piece that I want to show you is also on Saffron ink, or Saffron Cardstock. I created the embossed background. So this is the embossing folder that I showed you a few minutes ago, and it had the soft seafoam cardstock in it. So basically what I like to do with a piece of cardstock, a little tip or trick here, since my business blog is called StampinTrix. So I line it up with the black line here down at the bottom. Can you see that? There's a little black line. And then run it through the stamp cut and emboss machine. And it comes out looking like this. I think I might have placed it this way. Actually, sorry, should have done it that way for you. So you line up the bottom with this black line and then run it through the stamp cut and emboss machine. So I have the big stamp cut and emboss machine behind me, but I was going to pull out the small little stamp cut and emboss machine. This is called our mini stamp cut and emboss machine. And this is the boho blue color that you can currently get. So if you notice, this embossing folder is too wide to run through this little machine right here. So I had to use the big one. So that's why I just did a little bit ahead of time. But I'll show you a little bit more about this little machine in just a second. I wanted to show you a little bit more of the stamp set so that you get a good visual. So I tend to stamp a few images at once. Just because if I'm working away with different colors, I just sort of practice on white, practice on different colors, and get an idea of what I want to use. So these are all the different images that come in this stamp set. I love the sentiments. In the first card, the lime, I did enjoy the sweeter things in life, but this time I think I'm going to use sending you a big squeeze. And I really love these little flowers here. So I'm going to show you those. I've put them just on one of our clear blocks. And I'm going to use our Flirty Flamingo ink for these flowers. And I love the dies that match these flowers because you get 2 sets of dies. So it's just tap, tap, and place. We'll do it again. You get 2 sets of dies, 2 sets of flowers, and 2 sets of leaves dies. So it makes for multiple, creating multiple images really quickly, which I really love. So this little one, I don't know if you can see it, is the little centers of the flowers. So you just basically, because it's a photopolymer stamp, you can just lay it on. I often need to sit up. And it doesn't matter if they're not absolutely perfect. Remember, it's a hand-stamped card. The recipient is happy to get something that you've created with love. So there's the flowers. Now, on this card and also on the green card, I'll just pull it back in here for a minute. As I said on this one, I sort of wanted more of a monochromatic feel. But then when I looked at the flowers and how they were appearing, especially as die cuts after I cut them out, they really look like little embellishments to me. So I decided to do a mix of yellow and green. So on the blog post that I've done corresponding to this card, you'll see all the colors that I've used. But as I said, the one that I'm doing today is just slightly different, so I'll add those additions onto the bottom of the blog post. But This is Soft Seafoam, and this is actually Daffodil Delight, one of our other yellows. But I didn't like the stark contrast of the white and color. So I pulled in our water painter. So this is just our regular cardstock, nothing fancy about it. It's not a water color paper. It's not even our shimmery white cardstock. It's just the plain cardstock. But I really wanted to just add a little bit of sort of smear color to it. I just wanted to just bleed a little bit, just to be kind of a casual looking watercolor. So I just used my water painter, which has a vessel of water in it, paintbrush on the end. I'm not squeezing the water out in this case because this paper is just our regular weight of paper. It's not special watercolor paper, so it can't take a lot of water without starting to degrade. But as I said, you can certainly smear the color a little bit. So you're just sort of picking it up from the stamped image and moving it around. Now I'm also dabbing it back onto the lid here if I want a little bit more intensity of color. But that's completely your preference. You know, as I said, I just sort of wanted this kind of colorful little smear watercolor look to this image. So when I got this done, and then you basically just wipe it off on a scrap piece of paper, so just like that, and clean your brush. But when I got this done and I used our dies to cut these out, I wasn't really sure that I loved the white. So I decided to go with So Saffron paper and Petal Pink again. But I'm going to show you, because I did it ahead of time, how this works. So if you've never seen our stamp, cut, and emboss machine before, let me show it to you. It comes in a few different parts. Excuse me, I'm just grabbing a drink because I have a dry throat. Sorry, thanks. So it has these plates that you can use for embossing or for cutting. So we're using the dies in this case, so I'm using the cutting plates. And I've just basically taped the dies onto the stamped image. They fit fairly perfectly, just so that they don't move around when I'm pushing the die through the machine. Because these plates need to have a bit of give to them to go through the machine and impress down and cut your paper, or impress down and create an embossed image. So they do tend to warp over time because they're used a lot. So I don't know if you can tell as I go like this, there's a little bit of give to them. So you basically just take the plates that correspond to cutting. So in this case, it's the one plate, the white plate, and then the two clear plates. And I like to stagger them just a little bit. Stampin' Up! Has a video on how to use the mini stamp, cut, and emboss machine, and they say to just stagger them just a touch. So the mini machine isn't as heavy as the big machine. So I do sort of press a little bit there with my hand to just make sure those plates push through evenly. And then you just roll it through and it cuts your image out. It's really cool, eh? And then, bam, you've got your little pieces. So if you were doing an embossing folder that was smaller in size than the one that I showed you today, it would just not cut, but it would create an impressed, embossed image. So as I said a few minutes ago, I absolutely love the fact that Stampin' Up! Made duplicate dies for this particular bundle, because then you can cut out a few flowers all at one time. So I'm just going to set this aside in my little dish, show you the ones that I created because I just simply liked them better using Petal Pink on Saffron. So those are the little ones that I created. The last thing, or the second to last thing, so I created leaves as well. Stamp set comes with leaves. And I chose to use the soft seafoam card base or cardstock color as the base, and then the soft seafoam ink. Here's a comparison of white and soft seafoam. So it is really personal preference. And then the last stamp that I did was Sending You a Big Squeeze. I love this stamp set, this sentiment. And I think part of the reason that I got this stamp set is because the sentiments were just a little bit different. Now this shape here, I got from a new set of dies called Something Fancy. I'll just quickly show them to you. They're also in the spring mini catalog, and I used this little die right here, the very smallest of the center. So I just stamped it using Flirty Flamingo on white, and then cut it out with these dies. I think that this is an awesome little set of tag dies, and I'll do a couple of other projects, but I just wanted to show you that before I forgot. And I can't tell you right off the top of my head what page it's on. Let me see if I can find it really quickly here. It's near the front of the book. Oh yeah. So it's called Something Fancy on page 17. And it has a variety of different sentiments with this stamp set. So it was just one of those ones that I for sure wanted to have in my collection. So that's where that image came from. I'm just going to put this away so I don't lose my dies. And so now let's just assemble the card. So the card base, as I said, is our So Saffron. It's just 5.5 by 4 1/4. The embossed layer right here. And I don't know if you noticed on the green card, but I did just distress the edges a little bit. And then I also distressed the piece of soft seafoam ribbon. It was a sheer ribbon that was in one of our past catalogs, but again, I'm a bit of an embellishment hoarder. Ribbons and embellishments, so it's still in my stash. And when I was making an all green card or a monochromatic card, I thought I really need to add a little bit of soft seafoam ribbon. So as you can see, when you emboss a piece of cardstock, it does become a little bit more fragile, so to speak, when you're distressing it. So I'm just running the scissors along the side, as you can see, to just kind of create a little bit of a rough little edge. And because the cardstock was already impressed with the embossing folder, it ripped there. But I don't care, because I am further distressing this one. So another little tip and trick. But I just really love that look sometimes of creating just a little bit of distress on the card, and it's just not perfect. I just kind of like that sometimes. So I'm adding a fair bit of glue to the back here. Now I go with the motto, if you can see it, you have enough. But I find that because I've distressed the card base, I've ripped it, I've, pushed it in my hands, I just really want to make sure that it has a good adhesion to the card base, because you have these little bits that are sort of like pulling up around the edges. So that's why I put a little bit more glue on. So then I just sort of start building, and in this case I don't think I'm going to use all of my pieces. I kind of think maybe just a couple. So maybe I'll save these two for another card. As I said, I tend to, when I'm die cutting, I tend to ink up a couple of different colors of cardstock, a couple of different ink colors, and work it all together at one time with the stamp cut and emboss machine, and then I just keep them in a little packet. So I have a little packet here of the ones that I did the other day, as I always find that I just go to them later and grab them. So I'm thinking perhaps something like this, and then similar to the other card, I've decided I'm going to use the flowers as more of a little embellishment. So maybe up top, just kind of scattered around, just to give a little bit of a focal point to the message here. I don't know, what do you think? Something like that? So I typically just sort of play around with it, change my orientation sometimes. Sometimes I follow a sketch for placement of where I want the images and the sentiment. But other times I just play around with it and do what I like. So I kind of like it being a little bit off center. And once again, I'm just using the multi-purpose liquid glue because I find that it gives me a little bit of play. Can just, you know, tuck things in where I want them. And move them around a little bit. And sometimes you just kind of have to hold for just a minute just to get the adhesion. But the multi-purpose liquid glue is really awesome, and it sticks really nicely. So there's the leaves. Then I don't know if you noticed on the leaves, but also on the fruit, I just kind of play with them a little bit and break up the fibers of the paper, and then a little dab of glue on the bottom. I think I want to glue this one on first, so I think I'll do it here. Just kind of get them where I want them. So you still see the S in sending. And the green liquid glue gives you a little bit of, I don't know, I call it like open time. It doesn't stick right away, and I think that's kind of neat. Now, another glue that I love to use, where did I put it? I thought I grabbed it. Oh, here's my mini glue dots. Just a little bit more control. It's, you know, like when I've got a bunch of glue here drying, I can just pick up one of these mini glue dots, just pick it up just like that, and place it into place. And I don't have to worry about glue seeping out over my fingers or anything like that. So kind of like that actually. So maybe I'll do that. So it's a work in progress, right? It's art. No two cards look exactly the same. They're all a little bit different. Even if you follow the same sketch or design layout, just the way you do it each time changes it up. Not to mention, of course, as I said, whether or not you use white paper or colored cardstock. And I love the fact these little glue dots here, like I said, the glue is not moving on me. It's not liquid glue. It's just a little dab of glue that is sticky but dry. So I can place it, pull it, move it. And I sort of like to work with odds and odd numbers. So I chose 5 flowers, 3 little ones and 2 big ones. And then, of course, embellishments, right? Got to have embellishments. So this set of embellishments is really cool, called Iridescent Pastel Gems. I'm really hoping that you can see this as I'm working on it because of how my orientation is on my phone. I love the colors in this little packet. So it sort of looks like the red from here. I don't know if I'll use those or if I'll use this iridescent color. Let's see which one. And I just sort of place them in place. Again, this is quite random. It really is. And sometimes I like to mix it up. Add a couple of different colors. Just as I'm showing you right here, but also sometimes different gems. So these are the iridescent pearls, and I was thinking perhaps these might work because they're white. I don't know, maybe just a little bit too much. I kind of thought the white with the white might look nice, but I think I'm just going to stick with these first ones, the iridescent pastel gems. So that's a new product again. I don't like the big ones as much. I think I'll go with the little ones. It's a real science to this, eh? Not. So just mix it up a little bit. Put the gems where you like them. And yeah, I think that's good. I think I'll just leave it at that. So there you have it. A little sort of tone-on-tone, monochromatic perhaps, card, but it is pink and yellow, so that's why I'm sort of saying tone-on-tone with the combination of color and the addition of the green. It's not really monochromatic, but and then if you find like this little piece here is sticking up like this one, and it looks like an obvious rip now, just tack on a little bit of the green glue, and then it just kind of looks like a roughed up little edge. So super easy. So here's the 2 cards that I created. The green, as I said, I've done a blog post on this, so all the details are on my blog post, and I'll add the link. This is a garden green background. And then the yellow, when I was trying to create sort of a more pink grapefruit look. If you'd like any of these products, please consider purchasing them from me. I would be very grateful, and I'll send you a little thank you in the mail, a little thank you gift in the mail if you live in Canada and you use this host code. So it's a host code that just gives me the opportunity to buy a little bit of extra and with my order, and then I can pass that little extra on to you. The Thanks a Bunch, or the Sweet Citrus Bundle, is selling for $68.25. So I always give a little thank you gift to people when their order is between $60 and $135. So I wanted to just bring in the boho blue machine again, because I said earlier it's very unique. In the catalog, it's only available in white. But right now, during our celebration time, which is January and February of 2023, Stampin' Up! Is offering an ordering special, or a join special, I should say. And if you choose to purchase $225 worth of product, but you will only be charged $175. You get this little machine free, as well as $50 worth of product, because as I said, you only spend $175. There is no shipping or no taxes in Ontario, but you get to choose $225 worth of product. So that extra $50 worth of product plus the little boho blue machine that sells for $86, you have already $136 saving. So I'll leave it up to you to do the math on that one. If you were to spend $225 and place an order, pay for your taxes and your shipping, you're spending almost $100, maybe about $110 more than if you were to purchase it now with the join special. So if you go to my https leslieseabrook.stampinup.net, that's my online store, you can click on the join link and all of this information will come up for you. And I'd love to have you as part of our Stampin' Trixsters group. There is lots of information on my blog, which is right here, www.stampintrix.ca, about joining. What does it mean? It's sort of I've got a bit of a question and answer page there on the About Me page. So certainly check it out. Send me an email at, I forgot to add this one in today, Leslie@stampintrix.ca, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have, fill in any details, and I hope you consider shopping with me or perhaps joining our Stampin' Trixsters team. Please find all the links below. It'd take me a few minutes to just get them all pulled up and ready for you there, but as I said, I hope you really enjoyed just a little quick glimpse into creating with the Sweet Citrus bundle. Thanks so much for watching and have a super day. Bye-bye.